right. Let me have your attention very quickly. I'm going to introduce our speakers. We have the commissioner from the town of Brook, Mr. Chris Andretti. We have the consultant to the town of Babylon, Mr. Doug Jacobs. We have Mike Engelman from Environmental Protection in Smithtown. We have Mr. Matthew Lau from the town of Huntington. We have Mr. Martin Ballou from the town of Islip. And we have, Mr. John Conroy from the town of Hempstead. And we have Mr. Danny Pearl from the town of Oyster Bay. So I think this is all of the, except for North Hempstead, this is all the towns who collect. Riverhead. Okay. So, gentlemen, we've heard that recycling conditions have changed in the past year or two. Can you very briefly explain how your town has reacted to the changes in recycling conditions? What you did or didn't do, and why you did or didn't do it?
Sure. Town of Oyster Bay, we're doing a single stream collection for a year and a half, and then with the downturn in the market, obviously that didn't work out so well. So we are now currently with an intermunicipal. I got 3 minutes of this. We are now currently doing an IMA with the sanitation district number 1 in town of Hempstead. We're currently collecting our recycling in a single stream minus glass. Cost effective, when we were collecting single stream, the town generated somewhere in the vicinity of about $550,000 in revenue. Since single stream ended, in our first month of this year, January, we're up to costing the town $98,000 in recycling at this point.
Thank you. Our recycling contract, I'm with the town of Hempstead. We are still in the midst of a long-term contract, so some of the things that are being discussed today haven't really hit the town, but I do know it's coming. One of the reasons I know it's coming is that 70% that Anthony Core was talking about. I'm the guy he calls every day to complain about that 70%. So we definitely see it coming. And I think the big question we have in the town that we get almost every day is, what is recyclable and what's not recyclable? That question is surfacing more and more. But we know it's around the corner. We have about another 2 years left on our current deal, so we're bracing for it.
Okay, I'm from the town of Islip. When the market kind of dropped, we had a backlog of material at the facility, which we worked to, remove. But our stance was we're a dual stream town, so virtually we didn't change anything. We recycle the glass. That's a admixture to cover out at the C&D landfill. We removed the 1 and 2s from the MRF, the material recovery facility that we have in town. We sell all the aluminum, the metal. We move out the residuals. We have to pay to dispose of them. We recycle the paper. So we're moving forward. One of the things that we are sticking to is 3-month contracts with all the vendors, because it seems like we're getting the best price, rather than go to a year or 2 years, or because then the vendor has to give you their worst case price. So we've been staying with 3 months and renewing them, each 3 months, and it's been working out pretty well.
Town of Huntington, we were dual stream like most municipalities up until the end of 2014. Beginning January 2015, we migrated to single stream. We were going year to year with Greenstream. So we were actually planning, we were told early before Greenstream closed that they were not going to renew our option for 2019. So we had planned to migrate back to the dual stream format during our budget cycle, so we were able to actually make considerations and estimates based on what we were anticipating. So the financial hit, that came to the town of Huntington for the bottoming out of the recycling market, we were actually able to prepare for during the budget cycle, so it gives us a little bit more wiggle room. We are currently, we migrated back to dual stream January 1st. We have tried to do an extensive public information campaign. We do our annual mailer, the Refuse and Recycling Calendar. It goes out to over 60,000 homes. Every month, we repeat the same information in our back to basics approach. We tried, doing really marketing the program in a way that would kind of resonate with people. We also use the robocall, the public address system, to do a robocall right before our first dual stream collection in January 3rd, I think it was. We've done a supplemental mailer that just went out a couple of weeks ago on an 8.5 by 11 cardstock card. We mailed to all of the residents who are in our curbside program, and we are still, find the biggest component to trying to get a better curbside mix is having a really tough line with our carders, and just having them reject anything at the curb from day one, January 3rd. That did not, if they had the commingled materials out on the wrong day, so paper on a plastic week, or plastic on a cardboard week, and anything that was out in a plastic bag, or anything that had plastic bags in the mix, because that's what we've been told from our processor is the single biggest contaminant. Anthony was talking about it earlier. A plastic bag will shut down the line, or a garden hose, or anything like that. So, zero tolerance policy at the curb. It's made our residents very hostile to deal with, but we're kind of getting there. It's it's the carrot or the stick. I've had conversations, if they escalate up to my level, that basically you tell people, if you're putting these things that are deemed contaminants into the curbside bin, it is garbage. You basically are contaminating the whole load, so you're not doing any environmental good by what you're doing. So we're still trying to navigate that. There's a lot of negative feedback, but we are trying to educate and move to a cleaner mix.
Hi, Town of Smithtown. Like Huntington, we were dual stream up until the end of 2014. We responded to the industry by converting over to single stream in 2015. And unfortunately for us, after our budget cycle, we were notified that our single stream operations would no longer continue. So we sought an emergency bid. Towns, as you know, are obligated to publicly bid, any waste operations. And we did so with 105 permutations, continuing with single stream, dual stream without glass, etc. And our fiscal impact analysis showed that removing glass from dual stream was actually the best option for us. We've set up drop-off locations around town. We ask residents to come drop it off, sorted by color, and the town actually picks it up. Neil, you're emptying those containers, about twice a day now?
Twice a day.
Right. And we're operating under a 6-month agreement. We have an intermunicipal agreement with Town of Brookhaven, Town of Southold, some incorporated villages as well. And we again listened to the industry, and they said, don't bid it out for a protracted period. We don't know what the market is going to do. So we went with a 6-month bid and a 6-month option to extend. And as of right now, we're hoping to extend through the end of the year. In Smithtown, we're a little bit skittish when it comes to glass, because we previously had a consent order for the accumulation of glass because of our inability to find markets. So right now our glass is going to Town of Brookhaven under their beneficial use determination, being used at the landfill. I think I covered it all.
Good afternoon. I'm with the Town of Babylon, and we actually have not had to do a lot because of a couple major things. The first being not listening to the industry experts 5 and 6 years ago, and the shame that Newsday tried to put on us and others to go single stream. There was a lot of pressure, a lot of other towns. We resisted that for a variety of reasons. Some of it's just inertia and dense, but part of it is having experienced a lot of volatility, certainly in our town, in solid waste management over the last several decades. We at least wanted to sit back a little bit and see how it played out, and again, maybe for dumb luck, we seem to be the beneficiaries of that. The second real major reason, and I think Natagosi had mentioned the importance of this, is we have a very substantial, well-negotiated and well-thought-out contract with our recycling center, Omni Recycling of Babylon. And basically, when this single stream issue was percolating 4 or 5 years ago, the woman that runs it, Patricia DiMatteo, basically said, if you go single stream, don't think you're coming here because I can't deal with that contamination. This is, again, 4 or 5 years ago. She was aware of the Chinese threat of tightening restrictions there. This was not a big surprise in 2018. This has been out there for a long time, and she made us aware of it, and so it really informed some of our decision making. So we really have not had to change a lot. We're in discussions of, is there something else to do with glass, but Omni has made it clear that they are honoring that contract, and there is nothing in there that would allow them to move beyond that. So we're feeling pretty fortunate right now. We have not had to bob and weave too much with this market right now.
Hi, name's Chris Andrade. Like many of my colleagues here, we've been recycling for many, many years. I mean, some of us go beyond the 1988 Solid Waste Management Planning Act. I know in Islip we started in early 83s. My body work goes back to then. I started recycling when we used to dump it on the ground and a bunch of laborers would just pick through anything of value and you moved it to market. We obviously went to the curbside collection. In Brookhaven, they started constructing their facility in 88. They moved to curbside collection in 1990. We've collected dual stream from 1990 until about 2014 when we went to the single stream system. We went to the single stream for what we thought was very good reasons, like many others that moved the same direction. We were kind of assured that the technology had improved to the point where the contamination wouldn't be an issue. There was, let's face it, there was a national movement for everybody to improve their recycling rates. We did that, and the market risk was removed from us. The vendor that we had, took the risk away from us. We no longer had to market the material ourselves. We got a flat rate fee, and it went very well. And my understanding is that the facility that we have right now can process the material to an acceptable grade, just not to the China grade. It's not the facility that changed. It's the acceptability of the material that changed. We talk about a lot of things here, and there's a lot of brain power in this room. From a municipal standpoint, there's this kind of like multiple moving parts for us, but financial, environmental, and political. Let's face it, political. And so we went through the program. We reduced it. We went back to the dual stream program. We kind of modified our program down to core items. We removed the glass. One of the things that we talked about was if you got back down to the core items of recyclables, the 1 and 2 plastics, tin cans, aluminum cans, metal cans, paper and cardboard, that you could always move that material. Again, I said I've been in this for 30 some odd years now, and I remember 3 specific downturns in 92, 2007, 2008, and then this last one that we had here. I can tell you the first 2 were bad, but at least you're still able to move the material. This one was terrible because you couldn't even move the material. So we got back to our 7 core items, or we got back to core items for a reason that really hasn't been talked about so much here, and that's the ability to move people's, move the nature, to get them to move material in and out of the stream. It's very difficult for us, especially in Brookhaven. We have 500,000 residents to kind of have them move material in and out of the stream. So, we talk about the different types of commodities that are recyclable, but unfortunately, a lot of times something that starts out recyclable is not recyclable after a number of years. So if it really doesn't have any sustainability for us, it doesn't work. And we're kind of trying to, the old IT guy, shut your computer off, reset. We're trying to get back to that. We did have partnerships with Smithtown and Huntington. it worked out very well. There was also some mention here how we kind of all work independently. I'm going to have to, again, respectfully disagree with that. I think that there are people on this panel right now that helped us get through this crisis. I mean, I spoke with Doug from the jump, Mike, Marty. I mean, we've all kind of met and talked. The state DEC, which, you know, they're an easy target to beat up, and I'd certainly like to take some time to do that a little later. But for this particular issue, at least they kind of helped us out, and they were a little forgiving in some of the things. You know, the glass, I don't need to go into that. Everyone talked about how bad the glass was for our systems. I don't think it was really recognized until the downturn in the market. Plastic bags, again, we talked about the plastic bags. You know, they wreak havoc on the equipment until you've actually seen the equipment, and the amount of downtime that it takes to, you know, every 8 hours of production, you're losing 90 minutes to 2 hours just to try to get your machines back up and running again. We talked about product stewardship here. You know, I just when I left my house this morning, I was changing the garbage bag in my kitchen, and on the box it says "Save the Earth, recycle this plastic bag." It's a garbage bag. What the heck are you going to do with a garbage bag? So I think product stewardship is something that really needs to be looked at again. I think we're going in the right direction. You talk about people say, you know, $100 million for a new facility. I think you have to recognize the pressures that some of the elected officials are on. You know, they're talking about paving roads and things of that sort. And so for them, it's a balancing act. We, as operators and department heads, we all think what we do is the most important thing that we have to do. But unfortunately, we have 10 colleagues in other departments that think that theirs are the most important thing. And then you have the elected officials who have to actually weigh that and decide where to put the money. So I think it's a much more complicated issue. I think we will get through this. We have in the past. I think what we're doing now is great. This is the first time that I've ever seen a group of people together like this communicating about ways to improve it. And so thanks to Stony Brook, and thanks for putting this together.
One more question. So almost everyone focused on fiscal issues, you know, and that was the impetus for a lot of the changes you did right now. As Commissioner Andretti said, markets have been down before and they bounce back. So if markets bounce back, will that change your approach to recycling from where it is now?
Well, it's a real function of what your contract with your vendor says. I mean, risk allocation is fundamental to any contract negotiation. So who's assuming what type of risk? Is it the vendor? Is it the municipality? And that really should inform where you're going to move, right? Or what you're going to do going forward with a changing market situation.
Personally, I think I'd be very careful in how I move material into the menu of items that are going to be recycled. I would give a real long, hard look on sustainability on it. I mean, those 7 commodities that I just described, I think regardless of what the market is, you'll be able to move it as long as you can produce a quality and clean material. Some of the other items that kind of get moved in and out of the market that ultimately end up on the residual end of it kind of cost us money. So for me personally, I think I would pay very close attention to the amount of items that are moved into the menu.
Yeah, we live in a tax cap world now, and the towns as the planning units have to balance the regulatory agencies and the industry and pleasing in Smithtown 30,000 residents. So long-term stability, what's most sustainable, will certainly be the direction that we continue on, those core recyclable materials that I mentioned. We're hoping for more product stewardship, not just for the items that go in the containers, like the TV that goes in the cardboard box. Maybe the containers themselves need more product stewardship. I think we've heard that today. Things like glass. Glass is the big one, right? That's the elephant in the room today. But long-term stability for the products we recycle will be our outlook for a long time.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. That's pretty much.
I mean, you're right.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. The financial end is the big issue of the recycling. I mean, because the town has kept their contracts, thanks to Jim that started it, is 3 months. We've been getting very good prices I mean, I have the ability that I can enter into contracts as long as they're less than a year, like just at will, and extend them, indefinitely, okay, which is a good benefit that I have. But one of the things I wanted to have the audience think about too is when you have a redemption center, the redemption centers, they give 5 cents back to the person that brings the material, but they also get 3.5 cents service charge, okay? So now, in Islip, and I wanted to look into this and say, I would like to claim 3.5 cents, for instance, because, I'm recycling glass. I take glass now, and I know the tonnage that I put into the landfill for alternate cover. You can equate how many bottles that would be and say that I should capture the 3.5 cents monetary benefit, for doing that, and likewise for any other recycled material that I'm doing, that may be in the thing. The glass is an easy, I won't say easy, but you can look at it and give a percentage that might be the unreturned bottles that you could claim that 3.5 cents, just like the regular plastic bottles, so that you could get another benefit to the town.
The only thing I wanted to add about the finances, obviously we always need money for collection and disposal. But one of the things I feel, I don't want to say my town overlooks, that wouldn't be fair to say, but education is just so important to this. I mean, it makes everything better. It makes the relationship between the vendor and the town better. It makes the relationship between the town and the residents better, and the system just works better. So I know in my office when we talk about finances and how we're going to spend money, education is just so paramount in what we're doing.
Yeah, I just want to just mention the education component also. One thing that the town of Oyster Bay has always been interested in is reaching out to the residents. We have an active program where we have our recycling coordinator. We go into schools regularly. We go to various civic organizations, and we're promoting that. When we were doing our single stream, Winter Brothers Corporation, they were vital with helping us with the education component also. But that's one of the things that that's key. The other aspect that I see with the collection portion of it is a lot of people, no matter how much education we do, they're still not complying with what's supposed to be going in the containers. And as much as I would, we inform our inspectors to, put a notice of violation on the house, we still pick it up. We can't just leave it there indefinitely. And it comes to the political aspect of it, where we could issue summonses at some points, but we don't. We're instructed not to, just to really end up just picking it up. So we're really just glossing over some of the issue of that. But yeah, education is one of the main components, I think, in getting this to work appropriately.
Just to give the Huntington perspective on this, and one of the things I feel like I've picked up from today is the fact that I think what Chris was saying, the core commodities are the things that have the longest viability in a curbside program. And as markets change, like when it was mentioned earlier today, China, and Chris, you said it also, that we needed to feed the beast. So we expanded our curbside programs to include more things that were much more variable in their commodity. So Huntington has a drop-off center. Basically, that would be the place that I think moving forward and learning from this downturn in the market, that's where, as the markets are more robust, you get that 15% of people who are the zealots, for lack of a better word. They're going to be willing to drive those expanded markets, those number 6s, number 7 plastics to a facility, and you can accommodate those people. And to keep the curbside program viable, you keep it just to the core commodities. So that's pretty much where I think we should go from there.
Dave, I think also, educate. They talk about the education. One of the things that struck me during this last transition was, we typically did. You do radio, print, and direct mail. And so when we were moving from single stream to dual stream, we did radio, print, and direct mail. Crickets. It it was astounding how, I mean, and that's the way we always communicated our message, to the point where we were getting 1,500 phone calls a day, 20-minute wait times. It was horrendous. We reached out to some professional advertisers, and they kind of laughed and said, "You're not doing anything with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and stuff." We said, "Yeah, we certainly are. We're posting on it. The electeds are out there talking about it." And so what we realized very quickly was there was a whole new medium out there in how to communicate things, and quite honestly, it's much more effective than the way we typically did it with the print, radio, and direct mail. And it really improved, once people started understanding what it was that we were doing and why we did it. We seen a huge turnaround on it. But they were aggravated, to be honest with you. For years they were led to believe that certain things were recyclable, and when they come to find out that it's not, they needed to point the finger at somebody, and they did to us. So.
Question? Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi. I'm just curious, the point was raised about, we talk about waste and we talk about financial waste or the economics of it. I'm just curious, there seems obviously there's a market challenge, we all know that. But I wonder if any of you can talk or comment in terms of what one gentleman brought up about going from 3 old technology in the collection and how that takes much of the cost of three people on a truck versus one and an articulated arm. I grew up in Long Island, but I lived in Connecticut, in Fairfield County, which is near Stamford, Connecticut. Yes, a little different than here, but many years ago they went over to that covered lid and so forth, and it seemed to be working. I think it was Tony in the comedy routine that was talking about it would never work here. I tend to disagree, so I'm just curious. Maybe we can use some of the there will be dramatic savings there as people retire, etc. What are your towns doing to kind of reinvest, take out some of the inefficiency in the process today, and then reinvest that into deal with this current crisis?
Well, for most towns on Long Island, the collection is provided by private cars, not by municipal workers. So those efficiencies actually come through the private industry. Those single-arm, articulating-arm trucks, I don't know what the amortization is, but I know we had looked into those 96-gallon containers for our households, and I think the capital expense was close to $4 million. It might have even been more than that, actually. And as I said before, when you're trying to balance that in a tax cap world with what your regulatory requirements are, we rely on the industry, the private cars, to implement the efficiencies. We mandate certain things.
I mean, most of us up here, we're virtually saying we all do the same thing, just a little bit differently. But just to give you the example, I think in Brookhaven we provide 177 collections a year. Okay, 2 of those are garbage, 1 of them are recyclables, and then you have mixed collection with yard waste, etc. So even eliminating certain collections, you're not going to get rid of the 2 men on the truck for other collections. I don't, the cost of savings, we still send the truck out every Wednesday. It's just that now, one Wednesday it's plastic, the following Wednesdays it's paper. In the single stream that was going out every Wednesday, just collecting, so there really wouldn't be a reduction for us, at least, in the collection costs. One of the things you talk about the lid on the can and how it preserves the integrity of the material and how it stays dry and stuff. I'd like somebody to explain to me how that's going to happen with the cardboard, though, because in my world right now, paper is such a small representation of the paper cardboard, the paper and fiberboard. Most of it is cardboard, and so cardboard is big, bulky boxes. At Christmas time this year, my house was filled from floor to ceiling. My whole corner of my room was filled with cardboard boxes. The only newspaper I get is the weekly flyer that comes in my mailbox. I have 3 16-year-old boys. They have never read a newspaper. They will never read a newspaper in their life. They have never picked up a magazine. So, it seems to be going towards cardboard boxes, and I don't know how a 96-gallon can or a 32-gallon can is actually going to protect and preserve the moisture content. The other thing is people put them out. It has a lid.
One of the things, if I may just make one comment, and not pro or con against for carts or bins or anything like that, just observation. again, we have 4 paper mills, building the 5th across the country, large consumer, the largest in the country of residential mixed paper. So we deal with lots of cities that have bins, lots of cities that have carts, cities that have bag recyclables. We have it all. 15 years ago, I think the big thing for the cart was the savings of collection and the automated truck. Nobody envisioned 15 years ago that the online business would be as big as it is. One of the biggest issues that we're helping with cities and communities across the country with today, is that most of the paper, the cardboard boxes, are left outside the bin because they don't fit in. And so the majority of the weight's not getting picked up if they have bins, so they're trying to figure out, well, can we go to a 144 gallon bin? There's people who've looked at it, can we, do something different kind of thing. And then there's trade organizations that we're working with right now that are doing public relations and advertising and things like that on making sure you break down your box and all the other stuff. So so there's a lot of cities that have gone to the bin, who have gone to the carts with the covers and saying, we're sorry we did because we're missing most of the recyclables, which is what this gentleman said, mostly cardboard boxes. On the paper side, it's mostly there's a lot of cardboard boxes these days. So that's sort of a dilemma that the industry is dealing with across the country, that a lot of households, a lot of their paper is the recycling truck goes down the street the next day or whatever, the garbage truck is picking up the cardboard boxes, it's going to the landfill. Because the driver, in many cases, is not allowed to get out of the truck to, re-empty and after they empty the bin, to put the cardboard boxes in and put them in the truck.
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to touch base on that. In the town of Oyster Bay, we obviously have 2 men on the back of the truck. We still do the collection that way. We collect municipal solid waste that way. We collect recycling that way. We collect yard waste that way. And we also have all the e-waste, the television stuff that we collect curbside, all kinds. So going to that kind of a collection, which again, really wouldn't be justified with what we're doing now. We have looked into it, talked about possibly going back to a split packer for the recycling aspect of it. That's something that we've discussed. We've had conversations with Mr. Moore on that. So that might be a direction of go. But again, it's a big cost to invest. How much do those trucks go for? 270,000?
Yeah.
Three and a quarter.
Okay.
If you just take a look at Republic Services' latest financials, they have a 70% savings listed in their transportation haul, and it's publicly available information.
Mr. Court, very briefly.
Just one point, and again, how this is fluid. Water, moisture contamination, and the fiber products is a big issue. Little things. Some towns collect once a week on Wednesday. Some towns collect 5 days a week, right? Difference is, we don't get rain all 5 days, right? But there were a series last year where on Wednesday, it rained like every Wednesday, right, Will? For like 5 months straight, right? And that moisture contamination was crazy. Little things, like a program over 5 days. There's a holiday on Monday, the collection goes Tuesday through Saturday, right? That there's little things that can be done to make things more recyclable, make the market want it, make Vissy and Pratt want to buy the material, right? These little nuances have to be worked out with the program. I'm glad that Oyster Bay, wants to talk about a bifurcated truck and how to configure it and who should be on it and how many people should be on it. We've got to deal with the unions. We've got to deal with the manufacturer. We have to deal with the routing. We have to deal with how much to put in and how many routes we can fit in. It's complicated. It's a discussion that needs to be had by a public-private partnership.
Thank you. Comment?
In answer to your question also, it's not a one-for-one on savings, it's not like you're gonna put one articulated arm out there to replace a truck. You might need, you might find out that, it's 3 to 2 or something like that, you need 3 articulated arms. So, it's not as much a savings as you may think it is.
Mr. Udelman, then Mr. Bishop.
This is for the town of Brookhaven, and I work at Stony Brook. I live in Brookhaven, in Rocky Point. And what I noticed, because this is what I do, when you do this for a career, you're always looking out there, seeing what's happening. When we went from Brookhaven back to the dual stream collection, I noticed it appears that folks are not participating as much. And so while we're displacing glass out for waste, I'm just wondering if your consultant or somebody is monitoring, any of you actually, those that are doing every other week, paper that files every other week Wednesday, becomes less convenient. Somebody brought up about convenience. And so you're not getting as much volume. Now I was just wondering if anybody's monitoring this since we made this change from single stream back to dual stream.
There's absolutely an effect on the tonnage. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
What is the whole purpose of single stream?
Yeah.
It's all to
But-
get more.
But we are, we are
Gone
realizing
down?
those.
Sort of.
By
Remember, we're
definition,
collecting
by
ones and
definition,
twos
it's
as
gonna go
opposed to
down.
one,
Exactly.
Right.
But also, are people putting the bins down? In my neighborhood, I drive around to different neighborhoods, and I'm noticing.
There's always
there
been
are
an issue
bin
with
down.
participation, and we always hear the issue about participation, and I know there's always room for improvement on participation, that's not even questionable. But, it's difficult to say when someone looks down the street, and I've had elected officials tell me, I look down the street and only, half the people have the cans out, and I say, well, you really have to look at it for more than a week, because my family, I have a family of 5. I'm putting some out every Wednesday. My in-laws are 85 and 90 years old. They're putting a can out every 3 weeks. They're avid recyclers. It's just that you're not going to see it each and every week.
You're the 15%. Okay, where's the 15% they're gonna do with that to make it work? It's the 70%.
Just Town of Huntington, 2 months of number, January and February, 34% decrease in our tonnage for the same time last year. Now that was, again, as I indicated, we took a hard line, anything out in a plastic bag is being left behind. So residents can either take it to a drop-off site or leave it out, and the next,
Put it out again.
yeah, it'll be picked up as garbage on the next pickup. It's the only way you can educate.
They've
But
been
yet
spoiled for
34%.
15 years. They've been spoiled for 15 years.
And we still have glass in our mix, so that's a real decrease in, we're taking the exact same stuff, just in a dual stream format as opposed to what we were taking in single stream, 34% down.
Mr. Dershowitz, very quickly before.
I'll try to be quick. So, I heard today the theme, right? So we want to educate the public, which I'm not disagreeing with. I'm disagreeing with the effects of it. But all I heard was glass, glass, glass. So now we went from a situation, here's all the towns represented, right? Where you were receiving money from processors, and now you're paying. I'm a taxpayer. So I'm buying the glass bottle because I have no incentive, economic incentive, to not buy the glass bottle. I'm then putting it in the recycle bin, even properly. If I'm part of the 15%, putting the recycle bin properly. You're picking it up, you're paying someone to process it, and then I hear the word, we're recycling it, but we use it as cover in the landfill. That's not recycling, that's disposal, that's landfill. And yet, meanwhile, operating landfills can get paid to take in cover material. And so the taxpayer here, and you're mentioning the tax cap, the tax cap, the tax cap. Well, independent processors look for cost avoidance. So I don't understand why the concept of what's the bag law in Suffolk County is a raging success. There's 80% less volume of plastic bags being purchased by the stores today than there were before the bag law because the law changed behavior. What I don't understand is why on the government side here, you're not advocating that we put a fee on glass. And so thereby, the conscious person doesn't want to spend the extra money. I don't buy the glass bottle, I don't put it in the can, and you don't pay the $80 a ton to process it and then put it in the landfill. I don't understand why there is not an effort to copy the same.
What makes you think there's not? What makes you think we're not all up in Albany trying to deal with the bottle bill?
It's
and
not
stuff like
Albany,
that?
it's Suffolk County.
What do you think, Babylon's gonna have its own bottle bill, and then
Suffolk
Iceland's gonna have
County.
its own, and...
We
No,
keep
that-
talking about
that-
national
that-
stuff, and I think that's great, and we talk about statewide, but why aren't we worrying about Suffolk and Nassau County? Suffolk County has done it before, let's do it again. If that law was passed today, a year from now at this next conference, you'd be hearing a discussion about how glass is not a
But you also
problem.
started out saying you don't agree with that law, the bag law, right?
I
So
said
the
I
first
don't,
thing you said you
I
don't
said
like
I
it.
don't like it, but I agree that it works. I don't like it, but I agree that it works.
You know, the one thing you should realize here is reverse vending machine. Okay, you've heard it all today, all right? You've heard it that the only way you're gonna market glass is if you separate the covers and you kind of keep them apart, right? they're crushed together and mixed, there's really no market. That's really what you heard today, right? So now you go to a reverse vending machine at the supermarket, okay? Now what exactly happens? You stick your bottle in there, it doesn't matter what color it is. It gets crushed to glass, right? And now, you never hear one word, there's a problem with that material, right? So you know why? I mean, to me, it doesn't get recycled, it gets thrown out. Okay, that's exactly why. And it gets thrown out because they get the 3.5 cents service fee, which makes it economically, they make a lot of money doing it. You know, that's what's occurring. So now, that's why I was saying we should be just getting that money, and then it would be a market. As far as cover goes, that's a cost avoidance. You're using glass in place of purchasing cover.
One question from a board member.
I have a very, very quick question, and it deals with this Wednesday phenomenon. Anthony Ford brought it up a little bit, and I wanted to talk about it. So you guys have worked for the town, and you report up to the elected officials and so on. And you look at, in the comment was made, you looked at the private sector to make some decisions about what private sector can do and can't do and so on. But the private sector reacts to this Wednesday phenomenon. What I call the Wednesday phenomenon is that most of all of us on Long Island have recyclables picked up on Wednesday. No matter where you live, you can pick up on Wednesday. That is not from a national perspective of how it's going on out there. So I want to ask, in all your thinking of your programs and so on, do you consider or ever evaluate what the impact is to have all those recyclables in the entire town all collected on the very same day and arriving at somebody's doorstep, which they then have to deal with receiving it all on that one day? And how is that efficient in the context of a manufacturer trying to make products?
Well, you think of it economically, because then you talk to your carter about saying, okay, go to 5-day-a-week recycling, and he has to double his crew, because he's also doing garbage there. So, yeah, at least some of us have looked exactly at that, and tried to work with our carter, and unless we want to pay a lot more for collection costs, it's the most economically viable solution at this time for us.
Nobody here has any plans to move to the change, to make that change.
We get yelled at if a holiday falls on Monday and they get this collection. But from a waste content, you know, recyclables versus putrescible waste, you know, the demand is for one day a week.
I think the natural evolution is going to be 2 recycling, 1 garbage at some point.
I'm not talking about one day a week. I'm talking about it's always on Wednesday.
Right. That's because Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday are the collections, so Wednesday's your 5 day. And that's why it was always developed on a Wednesday for recycling.
Actually, the history was we used to have 3 pickups of garbage.
Yes, Monday, Wednesday,
Took away garbage pickup, we made it recycling.
Yeah. In the town of Boys today, we actually are picking up our recycling material on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So we're in a different, I would say, zone of the town for recycling. It's the same, well, I'm saying in Massapequa, we pick up on Tuesday. So it's every Tuesday we're down in Massapequa, that's for recycling. So it's the same day for those residents, but townwide we're in a different
You
location.
spread all the tons across to a process. You go to one processor, they're getting some of the tons on a Monday, some on Tuesday, some on Wednesday, instead of getting three.
When it comes to our own transfer station, and we ship it out from our transfer station.
And we all have facilities, and for the longest time, up until this recent crisis here, materials coming in and going out. It's coming in on Wednesday, it was out by the following Tuesday. So the storage issue, Wednesday wasn't an issue for us.
So I was just going to mention, in the town of Hempstead, we pick it up every day. So we know if
Glencoe does too. They don't pick up every day, they're free.
They have municipal collection in those in the city of Glen Cove and the town of Hempstead.
Okay, next, thank you to all our speakers.